Bani kujera. Kujera za ka bani da Allah.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome us all to today's session. It's exactly 10 o'clock on my watch. And I'd like to also welcome us this morning to our webinar, the very first knowledge and networking and knowledge sharing session of the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Nigeria. My name is Ayo Ayo. I'm the chairman for the Young Directors Forum. I'm delighted that you're joining us for this epic event of today. To help us, just really tailor our discussions, I want us to just kick off with two quick questions. IT, are you ready? I would like for us to kick off with two quick questions, which will help us to just really reflect on our own approach, towards today's discussion. So the polls have been launched. I'd like to encourage every one of us to participate in the poll. It takes less than 1 minute. This is just to test our resolve and to see, to gear us up for today's exciting discussion. The first question is, how would you rate your current boardroom confidence? How would you rate your current boardroom confidence? The multiple choice question. Just click on the option. And the second one, which of these governance strategy aligns most with your approach? We started receiving responses. This is essentially to give us a chance to reflect on our various approach as we prepare to hear from our peers. So the poll is ending in about 30 seconds. So if you have not participated, I want to urge you and encourage you to please do that. Some of us are saying we're just starting out. Okay, that's an option. I also see that some of us are seasoned. but we are seeking fresh perspective. And for the second question, which says, which of these governance strategy aligns most with your approach? I can see here agile innovation leadership, stakeholder-driven decision making, okay, IT, let's prepare to end the poll in the next 20 seconds. Thank you very much for IT. Once again, I welcome you all to today's event. We can see the result of the poll. Well, number one, 65% of us are just starting out, which is a reflection of the Young Directors Forum, people who are young in job board experience, and also people who are young in age, but not necessarily. The second question, we see that majority are agile innovation leadership. Thank you very much. So we'll kick off with the program of the day. President and Chairman of Governing Council, CIoD Nigeria, and our chief host, Alhaji Tijjani Borodo, LMM, FCIOD, members of CIoD Governing Council, the DG and CEO, Dr. Dele Alimi, fellows and members of the Institute, our moderator, Kende Olateru, co-founder and CEO of ZeroComplex AI, esteemed panelists, Stephen Amodu, Board and Management Advisor, Chukwuemeka Afigbo, Developer Success Okta, Dering Adefulu, Group's Company Secretary, emPLE Group, and members of the Young Directors Forum, distinguished participants, guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to welcome you to today's Young Directors Networking and Knowledge Sharing Session for Q1 2025. Theme, the Boardroom of the Future, Embracing Technology and Innovation in Nigerian Corporate Leadership. Let me begin by recognizing our visionary President and Chairman of Council, Alhaji Tijjani Borodo, LMM, FCIOD, whose leadership continues to inspire innovation and excellence in corporate governance. Thank you, sir, for your unwavering support of the YDF mission to empower young directors and professionals across our country, Nigeria. To our distinguished moderator and panelists, each a trailblazer in technology, governance, and business leadership, and all our fellows of the Institute, members and guests. Your presence today reflects the urgency of our topic. As the digital revolution reshapes global business, Nigerian boards must evolve to remain competitive, sustainable, and innovative, and also compliance with best practice. The rapid rise of AI, blockchain, big data, and cybersecurity is redefining corporate governance. Yet many Nigerian boards still operate within traditional frameworks, missing opportunities to harness technology for transparency, risk management, and strategic decision-making. Today's discussion will examine how emerging technologies impact governance and leadership. It will equip young directors with tools to integrate digital solutions effectively. It will address cybersecurity and data privacy challenges in our interconnected world. And it will also showcase real-world case studies of Nigerian companies leading in tech-driven governance. Therefore, my charge to our young directors is for us to be reminded that we are the catalyst for change. Hence, for this forum is your platform to learn, to challenge the norm, and to drive digital transformation in your various organizations. You are also to engage actively during the course of this webinar. Ask questions, network with peers, ask both questions, and share your perspectives as well. Let's make today a turning point in Nigeria's corporate leadership, because together we can build boardrooms that are agile, boardrooms that are innovative, boardrooms that are ready and fit the future. Thank you very much. At this point, let me introduce and welcome the President and Chairman of Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, Alhaji Tijjani Borodo, LLM, FCIoD, to give his opening address. You're welcome, sir.
Mr. President, you are muted, sir. Mr. President, you are muted.
Hello, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
We can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. The members of the Governing Council of our great institute here present, the Chairman, YDF Advisory, Dr. Deyinka Hassan, the DG, Mr. Dele Alimi, the Chairman of YDF, Mr. Ayo, members of the Young Directors Forum, our distinguished panelists, our moderator, valued guests and associates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Governing Council of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria, I welcome you all to the networking and knowledge sharing webinar session organized by the Young Directors Forum of our institute. As we convene today, we acknowledge the privilege to address such a distinguished group of young directors committed to advancing Nigeria's corporate governance landscape. First, let me appreciate the chairman of YDF, Mr. Ayo, and members of the executive of the forum for putting together this webinar, which addresses a topical and apt theme among young directors across SMEs, quoted companies, and private enterprises, and indeed any other person who is new in the corporate governance space. I also appreciate our distinguished panelists, Mr. Stephen Amodu, a board and management level advisor and C-level executive, Mr. Chukwumeka Afibo, developer success, Okta, and Ms. Diren Adefula, Group Company Secretary, emPLE, who have joined us today despite their busy schedules. I believe that your contributions today will enrich our discussions and provide valuable insight for all participants. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our institute reached a pivotal moment in its own history on 26 May 2023, when it was granted a charter status. The provisions of the CIoD Nigeria Establishment Act stated the strengthening of the institute governance structure to position it for excellence in its quest to lead advocacy for good corporate governance practices in Nigeria. The theme of today's event, that is, the boardroom of the future, embracing technology and innovation in Nigeria corporate services, is not only apt but also a call to action in an era defined by rapid technological advancement and the continuous evolution of innovation. The role of the board must be redefined and realigned. As decision makers, visionaries, and custodians of corporate integrity, we must challenge traditional paradigms and embrace change as a tool for growth and transformation. The future of corporate governance in Nigeria is anchored on key expectations. We must envision a governance framework that is robust, transparent, and adaptive to the realities of a rapidly changing world. The integration of technology will enable stronger oversight, improve accountability, and more data-driven decision-making. Innovation will pave the way for sustainable practice, inclusivity, and resilience in our corporate institutions. The boardroom of the future is one driven by agility, inclusivity, and foresight. It's a space where technology and innovation are not mere tools but essential pillars of strategic decision-making. Artificial intelligence, data analytics, and digitization are already reshaping how our boards function, enabling greater efficiency and deeper insight. As young directors, you have the unique advantage of being immersed in these technologies with the ability to harness their powers for meaningful impact. However, embracing the future goes beyond technology. It requires a mindset shift. It demands an openness to innovation, ideas, and appetite for calculated risk, and a commitment to continuous learning. It calls for directors who not only adapt but also lead the change in driving innovation, sustainability, and resilience. As members of the CIoD Young Directors Forum, I challenge each one of you to rise to this occasion. You are the architects of tomorrow's boardrooms, which should reflect the diversity, ambition, and innovation of our great nation. I charge you to step forward with boldness, embrace technology as your ally, and lead with the integrity that defines true leadership, which our institute stands for. The future belongs to those who dare to envision it and work tirelessly to bring it to life. Let this webinar be the beginning of conversation that inspire action, collaboration that foster growth, and strategies that redefine the corporate space of Nigeria. As we begin, I encourage you all to engage, ask questions, and share your thoughts. Your participation and contributions are invaluable to our collective success. I'm confident that the discussions and the insights shared today will provide valuable takeaways and inspiration for future endeavors. Let us harness the power of technology and innovation to drive growth, progress, and success in our organizations and in our nation. Thank you all for listening. I wish us a rewarding webinar. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank
Indeed,
you.
very grateful for your remarks, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'll now, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank
I'll
you.
now call on the Secretary of the YDF to provide an overview of the NKSS and then introduce our moderator. Tosi, over to you. Hello, Tosu, can you hear us? Over to you.
I think she's having an issue with her network. She's out of the meeting now. Maybe she will come back.
Okay.
She's been here all along. I wonder why it is now that.
Okay, so I will just simply proceed. Essentially, the
She's
webinar
back.
today. Okay.
She's back. Yeah, she's back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Tosi, may go ahead.
Thank you so much. I had a network glitch. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for those inspiring words, and thank you for the chat. Thank you for brilliantly setting the tone this morning. And thank you to all directors here today. Good morning, distinguished members, Governing Council, esteemed panelists. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Oluwatosin Koya, and I am I'm a member of the Young Directors Forum, and I'm also the executive, and I'm also a secretary of the executive committee. It's such an honor to welcome you all to the Q1 2025 edition of the YDF Networking and Knowledge Sharing section. NKSS is an initiative of the YDF and is designed to spark meaningful conversations, foster collaborations, and inspire young people, young leaders. At the heart of NKSS is also a commitment to peer-driven learning. And this is not just another webinar. This is a space for us to learn from industry trailblazers, connect with other young directors, and engage in thought-provoking discussions that sharpen leadership instincts and broaden professional perspective. We can assure you that these every of our NKSS sections are always carefully curated to bring up topics that matter to emerging leaders and in today's dynamic business environment. And today's topic, the boardroom of the future, embracing technology and innovation in Nigeria corporate leadership, couldn't have come at a better time. And you can all agree with me that it is very, very timely. And one of the advantages of NKSS is that it helps us to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I'm very certain that today's edition will help highlight the roles of young directors in driving digital transformation within the organizations, amongst many other things. And can you hear me? And equip young directors with insights and integrating digital tools for more effective board management, amongst other things. And in today's world, you would agree with me that the future of governance has been dropped on the lap of AI. So there's an urgent need for tech-savvy boardrooms. And today's section will help explore how we as young directors must not only adapt, but lead the transformation, ensuring that innovation becomes a norm in our boardroom culture. Now, to help drive this conversation, it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator, a man who truly embodies the spirit of innovation. I'll take his profile in a second. Mr. Kendi Olatero is co-founder and CEO of ZeroComplex AI, a company focused on simplifying AI integration for businesses. With a background in technology and a passion for adding value and improving human lives through technology, Kendi co-founded Cranet, a B2B technology consulting and implementation company before starting ZeroComplex AI. His experience in technology implementation projects across his experience in technology implementation projects across various sectors led him to recognize the potential of AI in simplifying business processes. This realization prompted him to establish ZeroComplex AI, which is a one-stop solution for integrating AI into businesses of all sizes. Prior to his role at ZeroComplex AI, Kendi served as the head of Flutterwave Labs. He holds a BSc from the University of Lagos and has worked on and implemented notable technology projects with organizations such as GT Bank, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and Airtel, and the Office of the Vice President. Kendi's vision for ZeroComplex AI is to streamline operations, elevate customer experiences, and drive revenue growth for businesses through the power of AI. He's dedicated to using technology to improve lives and is committed to simplifying the AI integration processes for businesses globally. And you will agree with me that he's just the perfect person to start today's conversation. Welcome, Mr. Kendi Olatero. Over to you, please.
Thank you. I do get, sometimes I don't believe that's my profile I've been read. Good morning, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. It's a privilege and it's an honor for me to be leading this panel session. Thank you to the Institute of Directors. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Ayo, for your support. Good morning, everyone. It's a honor, right? You know, when you're in your universities, you hear of Institute of Directors, you'll be like, what are they all about, right? You know, you just get a call from me to say, look, we've seen what you're doing. We want you to come and lead a panel, right? So it's a privilege and an honor to be doing this. Once again, welcome. And I'm going to just be talking about, we're going to be discussing the boardroom of the future, embracing technology and innovation in Nigerian corporate leadership. And the whole essence of this is to focus on emerging technologies and corporate governance from a young director's perspective, right? How can we equip ourselves with digital tools, you know, to be able to carry out our board duties effectively? And also we're looking at case studies from Nigeria, you know, a bit of outside Nigeria and how they're leveraging technology at the board level. And I'm not doing that alone, right? I am very proud to have distinguished panelists. And, you know, I've been reading TV and I'm like, wow, you know, from Derry Ajifulu to Chukwemeka Figbo to Stephen Amodo. So I'm just going to be reading their bio briefly, and I'm going to start at Ajifulu. Technical, do you have this profile? Can you put it up on the screen so that people can follow through? And it's okay if you don't have it. Derry is a group executive within the emPLE. She holds the regional position of Group Chief General Counsel, Group Company Secretary, Chief Compliance Officer. Her experience spans regulatory compliance, governance, corporate and commercial law, best practices and ethics, data privacy, stakeholder management, and company board secretariat matters. Wow. She has over 25 years corporate experience gained in various roles across different sectors. In her current role, she provides in-country oversight and leadership in implementing the right compliance culture, drives adherence with regulatory requirements, has responsibility for the company secretariat and the board, and she's the in-country money laundering reporting officer and regulatory liaison officer. She's a member of the in-country leadership team, executive committee, and group exco. Her career spans varied in-house legal and compliance in digital marketing, banking, I'm currently in the insurance sector. Her past roles include solicitor in the Union Bank of Nigeria, group head legal at multi-banks and loans, head legal and corporate affairs at Niger Sounds Limited, and associate at Udo Odoma and Bello Osage, and a brief stint as a service consultant at Halifax Bank of Scotland, UK. Then graduated in 1992 from Queen's College, Lagos, where she obtained a secondary education. She then obtained an LLB degree from Cardiff University of Wales, United Kingdom. She subsequently qualified as a barrister and solicitor of the Nigerian Bar in 2002. She's a Wimbod Fellow of the Wimby Forum, which promotes executive training for women on board, a chartered secretary, and obtained Oxford University Think Side Business School certification with distinction. In 2020, she was recognized as one of the 50 leading ladies in corporate Nigeria by Leading Ladies Africa. She was a nominee Legal Woman of the Year by Her Economy platform in 2022. Advisory board member, Women in the Profession, WYIP, beg your pardon, Nigerian chapter, affiliated to the New York City Bar WIP program. And she is also a 2025 recipient of the GC Power List Nigeria, issued by the Legal 500. Her interests include women's advocacy, full awareness, and legal reform. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us in the comment section welcome Dere Adefulu. You know, a very, very impressive profile. Pleasure to have you on this panel, Dere Adefulu. Are you there, Dere?
Thank you for having me. Very kind.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have you. I'm going to go right to the next panelist, Chukwu Emeka. Emeka's work at Okta is concerned with making sure that developers who are building with Okta's platform are successful by ensuring that they have access to the right developers' content, developer support, and community resources that they need. Before that, Emeka worked on driving Facebook's global developer community program strategy. Also at Facebook, he led the platform partnership teams in the Middle East and Africa. At Google 2011 to 2015, Emeka was a program manager in the developer relations team, leading developers program in sub-Saharan Africa. Before Google, Emeka worked as a software engineer in Nigeria and later as a strategic business development manager in projects and initiatives that took him across Africa and Indian subcontinent. He's a graduate of electronic engineering from the Nigeria and holds a master's degree in technology innovations management from Carleton University in Ottawa, an MBA from Quantic School of Business and Technology. He also holds a certificate in advanced project management from Stanford University. Emeka is also the convener of the African Deep Tech Foundation, an organization focused on promoting emerging technologies in Africa and for Africans. He's also currently serving as chairman of the advisory board of the 3MTT program. This is a program by the federal government of Nigeria focused on building Nigeria's technical backbone to power a digital economy and Nigeria as a net talent. Wow. Great profile, Emeka. It's a pleasure to meet you once again. Thank you. You know, these are powerful people that's on our panel. Emeka, are you there? Chukwemeka, Afibo, are you there?
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Impressive profile, Emeka. Last but not the least, definitely not the least, Stephen Amodu. Stephen Amodu has about 2 decades experience in financial service, working with both social impact institutions. Most recently led the banking business of a fintech as the managing director. He has in the past led growth from back and front offices role as a business executive. Stephen's experience cuts across banking, public sector, and startup environment. He has attended training within and outside Nigeria on modern day management. He graduated with a distinction in agricultural engineering technology. He has a MBA finance, also certifications in fintech, corporate finance, project management, to mention a few. Stephen drives strategy and execution for businesses. Stephen lives in Lagos. Stephen, amazing profile. It's a privilege and an honor to be a moderator with this caliber of speakers. and he's looking at it already. All right. Stephen, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. Good day,
All
everyone.
right. So well, with that, let's just go right into it. So starting with you, Stephen, tell us a bit about yourself, what is not here in the profile, and your personal journey and innovation at work. How has that been like for you? Then after that, Emeka, you're next. Then Darren is next. Also, what drew you to your current role, and how has work changed with new ideas or tools, even in small? So 3 questions in one. Briefly, tell us a bit about yourself, your personal journey with change and innovation at work. What drew you to your current role? How has work changed with new ideas or tools, even in small ways? Stephen, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks so much. I think you've done justice to my profile beyond what I would even say about myself. But I think I'm just privileged to have worked across financial services. I've worked with 3 commercial banks in Nigeria. I've worked with startups too. I had a stint in government. So what I've really changed about my work in the last 2 decades, it's a function of when I started my career. We used to carry files, getting information to assess anyone. You need to look at their bank statements to even appraise them. But right now, with big data, it is now a function of even using their behavioral information. Who do they call? That's also a capability that is available right now. Just combining behavioral information with financial information to be able to make better decisions. What has changed in my career and what has attracted me to what I do currently, it's a function of the volatility that we have in the current environment. You can imagine just less than 20 years ago, I'm not sure there's any bank in Nigeria with a mobile app. But today, you can easily open an account, you can easily do whatever you need to do. In fact, when you tell people right now that you're going to a bank, to a banking order, you'll be asked, well, what are you really looking for? So when you hear that maybe a bank is defrauded, when I started my banking career, it would be a function of maybe some persons carrying gun. But right now, some persons are there, maybe they are in Eastern Europe, they are in Greece, they are just in some countries in Europe, and they have been defrauded. They're charged back. People are actually transacting, eating your system from everywhere in the world, even while you're sleeping. So that's what has changed. And so right now, every day, I listen to business leaders, I listen to co-founders. I don't judge, just looking at what they've done better, what they can actually just double down on, and just sitting from afar, just showing them some blind spots on some things they might not see, seeing that can inhibit their growth to achieving their objective. I will stop there. I hope that has captured all the questions you answered. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for also keeping it short, because we have a long way to go. So thank you for the feedback. Thank you. Amazing experience you've had. It looks like you've had a front row seat to how, the Nigerian financial services has evolved from the teller era to mobile app to the era of the fintechs that sprang up. And now we're just having digital banks everywhere. We're having people set digital banks with no big joints, having millions of customers or thousands of customers doing millions of transactions. So it's pretty interesting, pretty insightful. We're glad, we're having you on our panel. Right. Oh, my apologies. My video is off. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So, Emeka, over to you. A bit about yourself. I know I used to hear about an Emeka Afigbo at Facebook. I know you're part of the Fantastic Six. Was it Fantastic Six? That was with Mark Zuckerberg. That's the gist we heard from our Yaba ecosystem back there. And I used to write articles there, so I used to read up on your articles. But was it Fantastic 5 or 6? They were always with Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know if I'm trying to correct. I think it was 4, 5, or 6, but there were some group of people that were always with Mark Zuckerberg. They always went wherever he went, always at them. So it's really privileged to have you on this panel. For our attendees, I don't know, he's one of the core interviews of Mark Zuckerberg at the early days of Facebook. So it's a pleasure to have you. So Emeka, a bit about yourself, your personal journey with change and innovation, and what drew you to your current role from Facebook to Google, now to Okta. I mean, they're all in tech, but I'm looking like, okay, this man went from a software engineer to a business development person. Now he's going technical. He's going development, developer content. Like, what's driving you? Then, also how has work changed your new ideas? And also looking at it from a global perspective, and also looking at it, especially with your work with deep tech. Why deep tech now? Amazing work our honorable minister is doing. Why did you agree to be chairing the board of Trinity? I mean, what is driving that? Right, so over to you.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me here, and thanks for the tee up. Those are a lot of questions, and I'll say this is the first time I'm hearing the fantastic 6, 7, or 8. I haven't heard that before. But yeah, let's see. So in terms of my background, like the Steven said, I think the profile was quite extensive. Um, I'll talk a bit about what has changed, and maybe from there you may get some insight into other aspects of my background that are not that were not read out. So, I mean, one interesting thing is that when the first time I ever touched the computer, it was as part of an excursion when I was in primary school back in Nigeria, in Nsukka, where I grew up. And when I say touched, I literally mean that touch. Like, it was a mainframe computer. They told us that's a computer, and we touched it, right? And that was it. I didn't have a computer of my own, but I knew I wanted to be involved in computers. And fast forward to when I was in university, I actually learned to code on paper for like 2 years before I could actually get a computer of my own to actually type the code in, right? And this was I graduated in 2002, right? And the key thing that happened around that time was that was when the telco deregulation happened, right? And that marked like a step change in terms of our trajectory from as a country or even as a continent in terms of the adoption of technology, right? Because it opened things up. My first job was as a software developer, and by definition, it means I was an early adopter of technology in the workplace, because we're writing code, we're using software, we're browsing the web at work, more than the average person. But the interesting thing is, at that time, where I was working at the time, a company called SocketWorks, we were one of the pioneers, if you will, of internet-based applications in the country. So we're building web portals for schools, universities in Nigeria and beyond, so that they could register their students, and collect school fees and so on. Some interesting things at that time, some of you may remember, some of you may be part of that era, right? Payment was done using scratch cards, right? The idea that people had their own debit cards or that you could do a transaction online was literally unheard of. So online payment for us then was using scratch cards, right? That was one example. At the time, if you told the university that you give them internet with 1 meg of bandwidth for the whole university, it was seen as a big deal, right? 1 megabit per second of bandwidth for the whole university. It was seen as a huge deal. Maybe within an entire university, you had maybe 100 computers that all the students used to use to access the portal. That was also seen as a big deal. So from there, coming to sometime around 2010, 2011, the big change that happened, from my perspective, was mobile internet. So going from, a whole school sharing 1 meg of bandwidth to people being able to browse on their phones, buy data and browse on their phones, that opened up a whole new, like a whole new world in terms of how people leveraged technology. And around that time as well was when the likes of Google and so on took interest in the region and came in to help grow an internet ecosystem in the region. And I remember that at that time, if you told somebody that you could build an Android app and raise, I don't know how much people are raising these days, but raise, say, $5 million, right, in funding for building a website or an Android app, people would think that you were crazy, right? It was unheard of at the time. And that was one of the things that, you know, those who were in the tech ecosystem at the time started evangelizing and trying to get the ecosystem up and running around this concept that you could actually, you know, take charge of your own destiny and create these solutions and make things happen. And so fast forward to, I don't know, say 2015, 2016, 2017, that era. The ecosystem grew to a point where you know, it became clear that in Africa or in Nigeria, we were doing something different. And that's when people started coming to pay, you know, take notice of what was going on. So you had, obviously, Mark Zuckerberg came, Sundar came, you know, all the who is who in tech. I think it was Alibaba came, Jack Dorsey came, you know. For me, my interpretation of that, it was like a validation of the ecosystem and the fact that from a tech perspective, that there's something we're doing that was in the right direction. And then, you know, I could fast forward to COVID. You know, COVID was like a huge game changer in terms of how people work. You know, it used to be that you had to be in the office. It used to be that the perimeter of the enterprise used to be the network. You know, so if you were in the office, you had access to the network. That meant you have access to resources. But then with COVID, everything changed. People needed to work from wherever. And that meant that the perimeter of the enterprise changed from the network to, you know, your identity. Who are you? That determines what you have access to. And you can imagine, you know, for those in the compliance and security space, that obviously brought up a lot of different kind of challenges now with that. And so, yeah, so that's kind of like a short description of my background and how I have seen this transition. Maybe lastly, just to quickly answer the question around how I've thought about my career transition. I would like to say that maybe there was a grand plan I had early in my career and I mapped it out and followed it, but I would be lying if I said that. I would say that a lot of my career has been around identifying problems or challenges around specific audience, being the tech ecosystem, and basically walking along those challenges and seeing where it has led me. From when I was a software developer just after college to now, where I manage the developer success team for the Okta platform. So that's basically what has driven that. You know, obviously we can talk more about that during the Q&A session, but I will leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for that mini course on the evolution of tech in Nigeria. For context, when Rebecca started in 2002, where was I? I think I was in GS1 or GS2. So that should give you an idea that this crash course. I didn't even know how were people surviving with 1 M of internet? Like, wow. Cannot wrap around the fact that 1 B of internet. Wow. And you know, I've heard of Socket Work, you know. I mean, it's a privilege to know that you also worked at Socket Works. Those are the OGs or before the real OGs that, like they say, or like the Gen Z lingo says. So thank you for that, Emeka. I really, really appreciate that. You, Darren, a bit about yourself, your work, your journey, what drew you to your current role, how has your work changed with new tools? You know, and for your background it's a loaded one, you know, from legal to business to rigs to data privacy. You know, in the tech world, we say you're a fintech woman, you're a data woman, you're a legal woman. I just, you know, cuts across, you know. So over to you, Derry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So it's good to be here. And indeed, that was a detailed profile. So I will actually not belabor the point and just speak about the increasing, evolving role of a lawyer. And I like what you said about, data privacy, fintech, and all that. But the truth is, lawyers do a bit of everything, and that is the unique way in which we find ourselves. I would highlight the fact that in the past, lawyers used to be more, type, your stock being a lawyer. But now you find that companies need to optimize the use of talent, and it's also cost effective. And that also shows in the fact that I wear multiple hats. Even though I'm general counsel, I'm also company secretary and I'm also in compliance. I know lawyers who also handle human resources, and there are lawyers who are now pivoting into even managing director positions. So I think I welcome the evolving nature in which the work is going and the way lawyers are being viewed in companies. And I believe that it's key that we stay flexible, multifaceted, and relevant so that whatever opportunities come, you are available to just evolve into that role. I would also speak about being a company secretary and the way even the board administration has evolved. As Emeka Afigbo rightfully said, prior to COVID, for most companies, it was virtually impossible to say you are having a board meeting without being present in the boardroom. And the boardroom is such a sanctity, the boardroom is a place of reverence. And you now have virtual boardrooms. The reason being that there had to be shifts and there had to be changes. And with all these changes in the use of technology and having virtual meetings, it became apparent that it was possible to, have information on the cloud, be able to meet wherever you are domiciled and still have a meaningful meeting. So I actually welcome the positive changes that came with that. I can confirm, for example, that our last board meetings, which were meant to be in person, I only had one non-executive director present in person because even directors are welcoming flexibility. And sometimes even on the day, we just state, I'll dial in. So being present doesn't affect substance. It just encourages more flexibility and sometimes even means we're even more effective as opposed to waiting for people or being delayed. So I think I welcome these changes. I welcome flexibility, and there is an evolving way in which lawyers are perceived. And I think it's important to also welcome that in terms of whatever opportunities come one's way. And that's it, really.
Thank you, Derry. Thank you for bringing your perspective to the conversation. And I'll just go right into the next set of questions, which is a bit personal now. And I'm going to be starting with you, Emeka Afigbo. And look, we want to try and make this very, very easy. We want to use less technical words, want to use less, technical jargon for some of our attendees as deeply technical, right? And also want to have this is basically a conversation and also to stimulate questions from our, attendees, right? And also looking at it from a board director perspective, right? So, Emeka, everybody is saying words now, AI, right? My mother calls me every time to me, is this AI or not? She has Meta AI now on her WhatsApp. He understands pidgin. I mean, look, for my mother to know about it means that he has deeply penetrated everywhere. All thanks to that November when ChatGPT went live, right? But for some of us that don't understand what AI is all about, and we explain it in a simple way what AI is about, and not just only AI, we hear things like blockchain, Web3, crypto, cybersecurity, big data. And then I'll come to you. You have to help you. I'll come to you. Please prepare ahead. You have to explain what's data privacy all about for someone that is just hearing the first time. I usually like to tell people, explain it to me as if I'm a 5-year-old, right? Also, from a board perspective, what does this as a director, starting with you, Emeka, what does this terminology, all these things, what does it mean for a company's operation? So, cybersecurity, big data, data privacy, AI, blockchain, just explain it to us in a simple way that all of us will understand. That even when we're done with this panel session, if somebody should meet us on the road and say, what is AI? Or, we're going back to our organizations, the person can have a conversation on it and it can stimulate them to want to know more about it. So, Emeka, you first, and then please chip in. Then I'll ask you your own question too. So, Emeka, over to you.
Yeah, that's an interesting, it's an interesting setup. When you say if you want to test if someone really knows something, they should be able to explain it to a kid. So maybe
Yeah.
this would be a test of how much I actually know, right? So yeah, AI obviously is artificial intelligence, right? And at a high level, it is born out of this quest, if you want to call it, that we believe, or that some people or computer scientists believe that you can actually get a computer to become intelligent, in quotes, to the point where it should be almost impossible, if not impossible, to distinguish between that computer and a human being, right? That's really where that's really what the field of AI is trying to achieve. Now, the means of achieving that depends on which aspect of AI you're looking at. But the entire concept here is that, there's this quest to leverage a computer in the same way, you can leverage a human being. That's what AI is trying to do. Now, having said that, there are two schools of thought in the AI space, and there have always been, right? One school of thought believes that computers will become smart enough to do everything a human being can do, right? And that at some point you wouldn't need human beings because the computer will be able to do it, right? And that's where you hear this artificial general intelligence. That's what it's called, AGI. There's another school of thought, and these two schools of thought have existed from like the 1940s when this area started. There's another school of thought that says that computers will become smart, but the reason they'll become smart is so that they become more useful tools for humans. So they'll, when humans interact with them, we can achieve more than we ordinarily would be able to achieve. That school of thought, they call them, I think, the human-computer symbiosis or something like that, right? And so one school of thought is like there are the people who develop things like a chess machine, a chess computer that can play chess and win and all of that. Another school of thought are the people who develop things like ChatGPT, the calculator, the personal computer we use today as tools that enhance that, like 10x our capability. Or as Steve Jobs said, that a computer is like a bicycle for the brain, right? That makes someone move faster, right? So just setting that scene. Now, what changed with ChatGPT is that it used to be that AI was something for people in like high levels of computer science. You needed to be very technical to leverage it. You are talking of things like training data, machine learning, all that kind of stuff. But what, in my opinion, happened with ChatGPT was that for the first time, AI became commoditized or democratized, that every single person including, like you said, your parents, can actually use it, right? So that was a big thing that changed. And so now you don't need to be a computer science major to leverage AI to do amazing, amazing things. I'll just give one example just to show how things have changed. Apple built Siri, which is a interactive voice prompted system on the phone that you use to do a lot of stuff. They spent billions of dollars to build it. Billions over time, right? Within a few months of ChatGPT coming out, right? The functionality that is Siri today is now, like, even I, with little or no coding knowledge or whatever, can build that functionality in, I don't know, 30 minutes, right? So that just shows you what has changed. So now, if you're asking which side of that divide I lie on, I am more on the side that I'm on the human-computer symbiosis side, right? I believe that this AI field will continue to grow. But what will happen is that as people, we will be able to leverage it to do 10x of what we're doing now, right? And so when people say, is AI going to take my job and all that kind of stuff, I'll say AI will only take your job if you're not using AI, right? And the person who will replace you in that job is somebody who is using AI to do that job. That's kind of how I look at it. So I see it as a tool that people should use. Now, how has it, now zooming out again, so how has it changed things in particularly the space I'm in, right? So I work at Okta. Okta is a leader in the identity and access management space. So we're in the identity/security space. I talked earlier about, what changed since COVID, right? The perimeter used to be the network. Right? It used to be you had to come into the office, log onto the network, which gave you access to all the resources you needed to do your work. If you went home with your laptop, you didn't have access to the company resources anymore. That's how it used to be back in the day. But now with, cloud computing and COVID and all of that stuff, from anywhere on your mobile phone at the airport, in the market or whatever, you can log into, for most companies, can log into the most critical apps from any location. Maybe at best you have a VPN, at best, right? And what that has meant, and folks in the cybersecurity space will tell you this, is that, it has given new attack vectors for the bad actors to leverage. There's a saying now that, a statistic that may be interesting to use, that 80% of all data breaches in the recent past have been due to compromised identities, right? So credentials are stolen and things like that. So what that means is that the hackers are no longer hacking in. They are logging in using people's passwords that they got through phishing attacks and all of that. Now, if you now layer AI on top of that, what that means is that these hackers now have more tools to compromise folks. So things like deep fakes, you don't even know if I'm really the one talking on this call now. It could be somebody in Japan or India, but using a deep fake, right? Things like that. You can use that to fool facial recognition. You can use that to do all sorts of bad stuff, right? And so all of that to say that while AI has 10x, increased our ability to be productive, right? It has also increased the ability of the bad guys to be destructive as well. And so that arms race continues to be there. Those of us in the AI space will know this, right? There are new questions that are being asked. For example, I'll give another example. It used to be that in a company, all the employees were human, right? All the people doing stuff were human. But as we talk about moving to a world of agentic AI, where you have software doing things on behalf of people, right? You now actually have a conversation that's happening in the world of identity management. It's something called non-human identities. So you have in your IT system as an IT manager, you have identities that are not human beings. They are more like, AI agents or service accounts and things like that, that have access to all the applications in the enterprise like a human being. And that's a whole new area of how do you secure that? What are the policies around that? And so on and so forth. So, I mean, I could talk about this for hours, but the main thing I'll just leave everybody with is, the world has changed permanently. Like, we're not going back to the way things were. AI is here to stay. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you are intimidated by AI, right? If it's any comfort, everybody is a little bit intimidated. Like nobody has figured it all out. Even Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, has not figured it all out. We're all on this journey together, figuring it out. So do not be afraid to explore. Do not be afraid to dabble into it, right? Because the flip side of that is this is like the .com era, like that internet boom. The people who take the chance and put themselves out there to learn and try new things are the people who are going to rule the next phase of whatever it is we're heading into as humanity, right? And so I feel as Africans, as Nigerians, as people in the boardroom who are driving these, we should be at the forefront and not be scared to explore, because like this thing is happening now. The world is changing right now in front of us, and you don't want to be left out. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for breaking that down in a simple way that all of us can understand. Amazing use case of non-identity, non-humans, signing in. Look, that's a very big use case. Like, I can't imagine the conversations that we have in the organization on how to combat fraud at that level. Amazing. Darren, over to you. In addition to the questions I asked the maker, should board consider the use of AI as a tool in governance? How should boards govern AI in their oversight roles? As a board member, listening on this call, how do you get challenges in an AI-driven governance? I mean, you're a compliance expert, you're a data privacy expert, corporate governance expert, and I'm very, very sure, you are probably, what AI is all about. So I feel like you're the best person to, answer these questions. I'm sure it's been on the minds of a lot of our attendees on the call. So you have the floor.
Okay, great. I think before answering it, I'll contextualize, maybe leaning on what Emeka has said. I'll contextualize the fact that sometimes we conflate the emotions and the fear of AI with the reality on ground. And so for me, I would always advise that whether or not you're intimidated, whether or not you are for or against AI, it is here to stay. And so the context that needs to be established is how do we then proactively work with AI? Because it is a part of everything we do, whether we like it or not. And so we are not reactive. It's important that we are proactive. And maybe now pushing it on to governance and the board. I guess one should just note that you cannot, for example, have oversight of what you don't understand. So it is important that boards are upskilled, boards are ready for the change that is happening as we speak. And upscaling takes different forms. It's just to even just have an understanding of what you are having oversight of, because the changes are such that you need to stay abreast. Issues such as even just governance. We have situations where companies are now using algorithms to assist with even employing, assist with making selections. So there needs to be transparency, and an upskilled board that understands this would be able to at least monitor and guide, simply because it's important that, it's a sort of level playing field. Some have even argued, and this is really taking it deeper, that some algorithms are built on data that is skewed towards certain demographies. So what then happens is some people are ab initio, or from the get-go, disenfranchised. You would never be shortlisted. And so there also needs to be a lot of consultative work on that, and at least an understanding that whilst using AI, let's also just balance things out properly. I think it's also important, if we're also adopting a proactive approach, to monitor global trends, and just to ensure that one is abreast with what others are doing, because AI is also evolving as we are trying to keep up. And even if it's having sort of like AI committees or AI management committees that are just tasked with monitoring those trends whilst we're um, governing, so to speak. And then, of course, the challenges, apart from upscaling boards, is we have challenges of even just costs. Truth is, adopting AI is not necessarily one on the agenda of some, and even adopting it might have cost implications. So it's important to think through that. And of course, the ethical issues around the use of AI. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm just speaking broadly, but I think a board that is thinking about all these matters is a board that is thinking of the future and is being proactive, because whether we like it or not, it's a very, for some people, uncomfortable subject. But it's a subject that once you get a little more conversant with, then you'll be in a position to at least govern, guide, steer, and provide input or insights on what needs to be done. So I think in summarizing, I'll just say follow global trends. I have AI thought leaders that I lean on, and even in terms of preparing for today, there were so many concepts that I found just in doing research and thinking, wow, this is interesting. And I think the boardroom of the future that is open to AI and is abreast of the fact that AI is here to stay and is part of our normal lives would help in proper oversight of AI issues in a company. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren. A really, really very insightful feedback. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. I want to say that if you have questions, please type in your questions in the question and answer box. There's a box after the share button, question Q&A. We actually want to, ask, we want to encourage people to ask questions, so that, and that's why we're creating enough time for the question and answer section. So please, no matter how question is, anything relating to what we're talking about, just go ahead and ask, and I'm sure everybody, the panelists will do justice to your question. And it brings me back to Stephen now. So Stephen, 20 years, 2 decades experience in financial sector. I'm sure you must have seen a lot, you must have seen a lot of changes from even the brief introduction that you did. So can you share a story about how, what was it like where you were working, maybe on the board, how they were able to adopt new processes, how this became a game changer, what were the challenges that were faced, were there a lot of pushback, and also give us some advice, based on what has happened, your own experience, so just share with us like a case study, right? Then, just to let us know I was part of this and things like that. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. just before COVID, while I was working with governments, we're meant to be lending to people in Lagos. We're meant to just create loans, giving loans to SME. Then I was working with the Lagos State government funded enterprise then. Initially, when we started, we're using the very traditional way of assessing loans. Meaning, for those of my friends in risk management, they know what I mean. So you have a risk acceptance criteria, meaning you want to check what is in your bank balance, what is your turnover, what do you have left in your accounts, what is your debt ratio relative to your revenue, just to be able to assess how well you will be able to repay the money. However, we had a snag because we're using one of the big fours to be able to assess those loans. So you can imagine when you're working with a government institution, you are saying you are doing it on your own, people will say no. So you need to change stuff. So we now needed to bring in those big four just to be able to come as our assessment partner, so that when people are saying, oh, why didn't you give money to people in my local governments? You can just sound like Shaggy. Oh, it wasn't me. It's PwC, just someone to point fingers at. But that actually came at a cost. And the cost is like 5x prohibitive. So you can imagine trying to lend money to Iyaloja, someone that sells a crate of Coke. You're trying to lend 100K just to be able to buy one cooler of Coke and bread or some product. And the particular Big Four is collecting 10,000 as assessment partner because that was the contract. So the question then became, how are we going to get out of that? How do we reduce our assessment cost? Emeka would tell us that, oh, we would need a lot of information to be able to train, to be able to do some predictive modeling. But when you're seeing your cost bleeding, you know that you might spend your entire money and give it to an assessment partner. And the people that you're really meant to serve, you might not be able to serve them. We had to be ingenious and we had to build our internal predictive model. Meaning information over 18 months, we needed to use, we couldn't wait for 3 years because if we had waited for 3 years, we wouldn't be in business again. We had to use that information of 18 months. School of thought will say, school of thumb and school of thought will say, no, that data is not enough. But you know, when you are in a critical situation and you know you are dying, you are going out of business, then you just need to use whatever you have. We had to evolve into using a predictive model, meaning using the historical repayments, information around just historical repayments, without relying on their financial information, just using that, okay, what's your age? What do you do? What sector? And we're able to lend. We didn't just reduce our cost of assessment from over 10,000 per application. We reduced it to just 300 initially when we started. So you can imagine that cost savings. We didn't just crash that cost. Also, the assessment period, because anytime the Big Four, anytime they want to come around for assessments, what we will do is they will come around, they will set up a committee, we'll buy biscuit for them. You know, those of you, if you have any engagement with the Big Four, you'll be buying food for them. Somebody to go around at 12 o'clock to say, okay, what are you eating? What are you having for lunch? You know, saving all those costs, also saving our time. So we saw all those things work. So the question then became, we have seen it work. The question is, how are we going to convince the board? The board came on board. The board was appointed to be able to be sure that everything was going on well. So how are we going to educate the board from the scratch about predictive modeling? How were we able to convince them to say, if we use this, it's better, it's not just saving costs, even in terms of repayments, we are going to have better repayment and better job creation, which was the mandate of the institution. It was difficult for us. We not had to do like a parallel run. You know what? Okay, let's continue. So it was a battle just to convince them to say, okay, you know what? Let's continue with what we're doing before and let us continue to use our data. And as we evolved over 6 months, we saw how well we were able to learn more at a ridiculously lower cost and with better outcome relative to using the Big Four. So what I'm trying to say right now is that the way technology is changing and what is available to us. I love the example Emeka gave earlier about this algorithm, this predictive modeling, this AI journeys starting around 1940s and 1950s. It starts today. But the question is, when is it going to be commercial? When is it going to be applicable to you? Yes, initially we are meant to fear because you went to school, you've been known as experts, or you've been known as Power BI experts. You've earned like 2-3 promotions, just be an expert. And right now, someone is just coming out of school, is just doing like prompt engineering, and you not discover with robotic process automation, all those things that used to take you 7 days after month's end, all the reports that used to take you 7 days to share with CBN, within 1 hour, it can be ready. As a board member, if someone is now sharing that report with you, will you say no because human being is not involved? Then you won't take it. That's on one hand. Things are changing. Things are not just changing. Things are changing so fast. And as a board member, that you have actually been put there as a governance, as a governance structure, the highest governance structure in an institution. How well do you need to be abreast of all these things? It is not a case of whether or you do not have a choice now. You just need to embrace the technology. If you do not embrace the technology, in the next 2-3 years, you might not have a business again. Because what this technology is doing for us is it's not just reducing the time to decision making, it's also crashing the costs. Few years before I started my banking career, one of our seniors in the office there would say, "Oh, that office right there, that used to be the typing pool." Meaning there were people you call stenographer, whatever name they are. There are people that their job is just to form whatever you think you want to do. You write it long and you send it to them. They will help you type it. That's their work. And these people are so powerful that no matter how urgent the stuff you want to do is, if you go there like maybe 5 o'clock, they'll tell you, we'll close till tomorrow. And imagine when personal computers were even now introduced mid-2000 into institutions, into financial institutions. These people, you do not expect them to embrace this thing. They will be skeptical. But look at it right now. I'm very certain all the panelists, including Barry, as you mentioned, did the research to be having this conversation on our own. No need for a secretary, no need for a stenographer. So you have to do it on your own. So it's a function of whether you need to embrace or whether you need to wait. You just need to be in the room, especially for decision makers. There are technologies that would actually change the climate of cybersecurity. Imagine, like in the next 6 months, in the next 12 months, what are you doing as a board member? Talking about upskilling, you cannot wait for the board to have a budget. I know we have this bane, we have this constraint as board members. We have quarterly reports, we have quarterly targets. There are people in financial services, for example, all those fast-paced institutions right now, or industries, where they will say, "Oh, you missed your quarter, your Q1 target. What are you doing differently? You need to go on recovery, you need to go on suspension, you need to meet your targets." So you've planned something out at the beginning of the year. Things have now changed mid-month or mid-quarter or mid-year. How agile should you be? So I will close by saying, with the way things are moving very fast, some of us joined inside our career at the beginning of the computer era, but the way things are changing right now and how fast they're changing, the momentum of change is such that you are not just waking up every day to learn, you're actually waking up to unlearn what you learned, to be able to embrace the thing of the future. Especially when you're seeing your competition actually going into it. So That's my story around reporting. That's my story around managing the board expectation as regards the use of technology and innovation. That's we just need to be very, very agile, and we need to manage our stakeholders. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind, because as an institution, it is not just you knowing, the people that must approve and the people that must help you should also know what you're doing. I will close at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Stephen. It's a very, very insightful story. I don't know if anybody has any question. Mr. Ayo, is it possible for the attendees to ask questions directly, or did you have to type it in?
Okay, we created the Q&A, but if there is any question,
Yeah.
then people should just use the hand gesture.
Okay.
I will see that, and then we can call on them to ask a question.
Okay. So if you have any questions,
the participants cannot ask questions directly because they are there as a webinar attendants, so they can only use the Q&A or the chat area. Okay. Yes.
Got it. Did you say you have a question?
I think I saw one question in the chat.
Okay. Okay. Let me go and
scroll up a bit. From Olayinka.
How about, okay, let's just break it with questions so that, how about upskilling in cybersecurity threats? What are the general buy-ins? Darren, do you want to start and take these questions?
Yes, happy to take that. So basically, for me, I think the first point is to understand the company's posture on cybersecurity so that the board aligns. And in truth, the board will be guided by the IT lead or IT director. I can state that where I work, for example, the posturing is extremely, this is priority. Regular reports are taken to the board in terms of like phishing tests and in terms of like just monitoring cyber governance, data, and just ensuring that the company is adhering to what is required both in law and in terms of internal policy. So upskilling would also be guided by what the IT team is doing, and of course an understanding of the IT concepts and what's required to have oversight of, and this is handled through board training. And so you would, for example, mandatorily, directors are required to be trained. And what we do is in preparing the training calendar, we ensure that it's relevant and meaningful as opposed to just routine. So that you get a situation where it aligns with the trends of the day. So AI, for example, IT threats, for example, and of course, AML CFT, which is always key. So I think working closely with management, it's easy for the board to ensure that they stay abreast of the issues. I'm happy to lean on the more technical guys to add to this. Thanks.
Yeah, so Emeka, I'll allow you to chip in. Question, how are boards upskilling in cybersecurity threats? What are the general buy-ins?
Yeah, I think Derry has done a great job already of like laying out the foundation. I'll just add maybe one or two things that I'm seeing from, where I sit. And that is that just given how strategic security data and all those things have become in the last 10 years, let me just say that. It used to be that your IT infrastructure was just a tool to make you more efficient, right? So, you use all these apps to be more, you create documents, manage your customers, all that kind of stuff. But in recent times, your IT infrastructure, including the apps that you have access to and all those things, are now a key strategic lever for companies. Like the difference between any of the Fortune 500s, like how, their stock, how their stock moves depends on their IT strategy. Like if if you have a breach as a publicly listed company, like, and you look at your stock the next day, the difference is going to be very clear, right? So this whole conversation around IT strategy, cybersecurity used to be more around efficiency. Now is a strategic lever that boards are now more interested in, you know. More and more you hear heads of IT, CIOs, CISOs are now attending board meetings to give updates to the board on what the strategy is and how they are doing things, right? So all those decisions used to be things that were just by the side. Now is now strategic. So that's one thing. The second thing that I have seen in recent times is because of the whole increase in cybersecurity threats and the impact, like I said, on profitability and total valuation of the company, we're now seeing a lot more closer consolidation between the chief security officer's office and the chief information officer's office. So now there's now a lot more, like typically it's now they are now either the same department or they work very closely together. It used to be that the CIO was above the CSO, right? Now is almost they are either at the same level or in some cases is the other way around, right? The CIO is now part of the CSO's team or is now a merged role because of what I just said, right? The strategic importance of cybersecurity to these companies has changed in the last 5 to 10 years. So and boards have had to adapt. The last thing I'll just say is that just to cap it all up, as a board member, you need to know all these things. Like you need to have at least, like somebody say, you need to know enough to be dangerous, right? You don't need to be an expert, but you need to have enough knowledge to be able to at least understand what your company is doing from a tech strategy perspective. So I'll just call that out.
Thank you, Emeka, for doing justice to that question. So somebody also asked, and I would like to bring it up, even though I see Mr. A has responded. Okay, I think he structured the conversation question structure. How can boards balance innovation with risk management when adopting emerging technologies like AI in traditional service? So I think Darren should do justice to that question, considering that she has been on board, that she has both from a legal perspective and a data privacy corporate governance perspective. Then just, with also inputs from Steve. So Darren, you have the floor on this question.
Yes, I'm trying to find the question, but I think you said, how can boards balance?
How can boards balance innovation with risk management when adopting emerging technologies like AI in traditional sector? So maybe traditional sector like sector is really, really traditional now that's, I don't know, what deep in tech, or traditional sector like maybe
Investment banking.
No, banking is not traditional. So
Investment banking.
I mean, let's go for a more traditional sector. Banking still has
Manufacturing.
manufacturing, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you
Well,
want, yeah, go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
okay, good. I see the question. It's always good to be able to say it. Innovation with risk management when adopted. Well, I think the starting point, which is what I contextualized it, is for the boards to see AI as basically mainstream. Simply because the questions seem to always act as though there's this thing hanging out there, and are they going to? So when you actually contextualize or get the posturing right, then the board members would also align. Really balancing innovation with risk management whilst adopting emerging technology. Like, I think it's important to guidance, training, and of course, frankly, the strategic direction that the company wants to take. That's the only way I can see that the balance is right. The question is very, very broad. But the point is, I'll just say the posturing is just note that AI is here and you just need to work with it. So I think I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question. What are the implications of AI on board composition, diversity, and succession planning? It's a bit of a when we're in school, then they say 5 in 1 question. So this has a lot of questions inside the bigger question. So should I start with you, Darren, then Emeka, then I think everybody should contribute. What are the implications of AI on board? Let me start with Emeka. The implications of AI on board composition, diversity, and succession planning. These attendees are very the kind of question.
That's a deep one. I'll
Yeah.
just say maybe I'll lean on what I said earlier, right? There's a saying that when hunters learn to shoot without aiming, birds have to learn to fly without perching, right? So this is the world we're in now, right? I think like Steven said, and Derry said, like everybody is either using this stuff or is going to be using it, right? Even in companies, quote unquote traditional companies or whatever, where you don't have AI being leveraged, your staff are using it in their personal lives, right? They are using it. So, and some of them are even using the personal AI for work stuff. So even like they're using the personal AI to create company documents or write company code and things like that. So they're already using it. And so I think there will come a time in the not too distant future where ability to use these tools, let's not even say using AI, ability to use the current tools, let's put it that way, will be a criteria for being able to get a job or even serve on a board, right? And that time is not as far off as we may think that it is, that it could be, right? Just the same way today in every in every job spec that you see out there, there are some things you no longer even have to put, like you have to be computer. There was a time when they used to put you have to be computer literate as a requirement for job. I don't know how many of us remember that, right? Maybe I'm dating myself a little bit, but there was a time when you had to put that, ability to use Microsoft Word and Excel. You have to be computer literate and things like that. There was a time that used to be on every job spec. But now nobody like, what are you talking about? So you even moved from that to ability to use internet, right? Internet literates. I think that's what it was called, right? From computer literacy to internet. Those were things that used to be on job descriptions before, right? But now that's not a conversation anymore. I feel that in a few years' time, maybe even 2 years, who knows? Like it's going to be taken for granted that you know how to use these tools, not just to get the job, but to be on the board. Because if the company you're on the board of is an AI first company, right? And yeah, how is it going to work? Steven said something like, if they bring a report to you that was written by AI, first of all, will you accept the report? If you accept it, will you be able to tell if it was written by AI or not? Will you be able to know how to assess it versus the one written by a human being if you don't know the tools and things like that? So if not, they'll just pull wool over your eyes and you'll be messed up. So that's just my take on it.
Thank you very much, Emeka. Steven.
Yes. So talking about diversity, I love the fact that you mentioned a traditional industry or traditional sector right now. And in my head, even in construction, the way people now use meteorological data, right? When cement was set, combination, the weather forecast, and all this. There's already data science that is going on. Yes, we might say maybe at the point of pouring the concrete right, into the metal, then maybe those might still be mechanical. Let's look at our sport. Let's look at sports. Football, for example. The amount of data science that is in football right now, the way football, for example, employs like data scientists, who you are playing against, what you need to eat, kind of training to do, it's almost everywhere. So you cannot afford to have a board that is not in its entirety like digital native, or that is not data native, because things have evolved from when you say a subject matter expert, or you want to use your experience, you have 15 years experience, you are not leveraging on the spot data most times. How is the market reacting? What do you need to do? So you must have created all those scenarios that you don't even need to go back. You don't need to go back to the board to actually make decision or to change anything. In football, for example, there's this thing about maybe Arsenal Football Club right now. People are now talking about their free kicks. They're using dead balls. It's basically just leveraging data, just looking at the way people are performing, the way they need to tackle all those things to be able to win games. So we cannot afford to have that. That digital nature on the board. It is either we embrace it or we are almost out of the business. Because the people that we are in business, yes, it's not a zero-sum game, but the people we are in business is once they're using it and customers' experience actually improved, people are offering services that are cheaper, time to market is actually faster, then what exactly are you offering that will make people come to you? So the board cannot afford to, right? Then another thing that the board will also need to do, which I'm very happy some boards are doing, or one of the importance of this conversation, is that that's gap in between customer information and authority, right, is actually getting closer. What do I mean by that? The people at the field, the people that are actually relating with customers, they have information that would make them just decide and give the customers the best experience. So the board, who has the authority, should be able and need to give that authority to people on the field to be able to make all those decisions. Being digital nature as a board, there's no compromise. There's no path forward other than that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Darren.
Thanks. So I think just following up on what they said, this is the question about how does, I'm just going to remind myself.
What are the implications of AI on board composition, diversity, and succession planning?
So I can look at it from two angles. Implications in terms of even members coming on board, in terms of, say, companies using AI. If that is happening, it could be based on algorithms that's helping in shortlisting. But I suspect that the question is asking in terms of actual, the board practices itself. And I think that using AI can actually make the board more effective. Succession planning in terms of just streamlining what the skill set should be on the board and highlighting the kind of shortlists that one should be looking at. So I think there's a way one can use AI that can actually lead to a more effective planning subject to human interactions. So I'll just say the implications are based on how you view the use and how conversant you are with the use of it. Working directly with the company secretary, working directly with management would really help in, streamlining. It would make things more effective. I would summarize in that. Thank you.
All right, then. Thank you. Is a comment by Funke Shobanjo. There needs to be a deliberate capacity building to enable boards to make informed decisions on technology and innovation, especially as many directors may not yet have deep expertise areas. In banking, for instance, CBN mandates at least one board member must have technology expertise. this kind of regulatory requirement helps strengthen digital governance and ensures boards are better equipped to engage fast evolving risk and opportunity. Do you see a future where board members must have somebody that is either you have a chief AI must be on chief CIO or chief compliance officer for compliance? Do we see a situation where that's going to happen? That's one. Or do we also see a situation where to have a board seat, you must, just like the way just like the way we are you must be literate in computer, or are we going to start saying for you to have a board seat, you must show proficiency in AI? Emeka, Stephen, Dave, do you think that's going to be, are we seeing that going to be happening in the next future or not?
Should I go first?
You can go first.
I believe so. I believe so. The reason I state that is currently we already have requirements for example, some committees require expertise in IT, because the requirements for composition of boards is determined by what the board members have oversight of. So when you're talking about finance, investments, general purposes committee, or the committee that handles IT risks, you need to have a board member conversant in IT. So definitely, I believe it is coming in the sense that the more AI is embedded in everything we do, then we will require more fintech savvy persons or persons with such experience on the board to be able to provide steer guidance and just interrogate properly, as opposed to how can you have oversight without having an understanding? So I think it is coming for sure. It is actually already partly in place.
All right, thank you. We just have one more person that can answer that question. So, Emeka, do you want to answer that question? Do we see a situation whereby we're going to have a chief AI officer, or we're going to say, to have a board level for some organizations, you must have proficiency in AI? Considering that AI is very broad, right?
Yeah.
And even people that are in AI are catching up more about AI, right? So.
Yeah, so the short answer is yes, but to your point, because it's very broad, there's, so this is what I think, and I'm just saying this because, again, this is fast evolving. Nobody knows how it's going to play out. So what I'm seeing is that there is, in a lot of companies or even teams within companies, there's somebody who has been anointed to figure out this AI stuff, right? And they go by these different names, but there's somebody, a team, who has been anointed to figure out what's this AI thing and what's our AI strategy, right? So there's some chief AI strategy person in most companies, no matter how big or small, right? And I think that role is going to evolve, because at some point, when you talk about using AI or knowing how to use AI at a high level, I think at some point we're not going to be calling it AI anymore. It's just going to be work. That's just going to be the way. It's just like using computer. Nobody talks about, that you know how to use computer. It's just a tool that it's just work. So I think at some point we're not going to be talking about using AI. It's just going to be work. That's what it is. You can either do the work or you can't. It's going to be as simple as that. However, when it comes to this new world we're entering, understanding data policy, AI policy, which data is mine, which one belongs to ChatGPT or Gemini, if I data, where does it go? Even things like, how do you bill people for AI tools? That's a whole new paradigm that people are trying to figure out.
Oh,
So,
yes, I can agree to that. For in-house, we just have to understand how do we bill. It can be subscription. It can be, if we will have to even build AI tools that will help in billing for the customers that will use some of our AI products. So
yeah. So I think so when it comes to that bit, I think there's going to be some specialization there. You're going to need people who really understand the innards of how all these things work. And that's really what the chief AI person will be doing. It won't be about using it in day to day. That's just going to be work. You know, that's kind of how I think about it.
So what you're saying is this is opening up a new layer of specialization,
Yeah.
right? AI specialization, right? So that's a good opportunity, right? So it's an opportunity for to go and upskill. I can, for example, I can say, I want to focus on AI ethics, right? Someone can focus on AI. I mean, I lead an AI startup, so I should specialize in a lot of sector. But even as an individual, I can't part in everything. So that's an interesting answer to that question. Sir, do we have more time? Because I need to do a hard stop by 12. Mr.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up.
Okay, because I'm seeing more questions now,
Okay.
So I'll just briefly ask the two questions, and Darren, you just pick one that you answer, right? Just under a minute, right? And this is for you, Darren. Has an organization be fined for not following the relevant data protection laws in Nigeria? I know recently of Domino's, right? I know of a court case that the person sued Domino's for giving his data or our data to a third party. But do you have any insights as to any organization that's been fined for not following relevant data protection laws in Nigeria?
Okay, so factually, I don't want to confirm what I don't know, but theoretically, organizations can be fined if they do not follow the laws. The laws we have very stringent laws, and we're also aligned with international practices. So it's important. At least in the sector that I work in, you are actually required to have a data protection audit, and the summary of that audit must be submitted, and it is signed off by management and reported to the board. So whilst I do not want to confirm what I'm not sure of, definitely there are fines if one does not follow the requirements, because data is key.
I have 10 minutes more to wrap up. So I just one more question. And Stephen or Emeka, anybody can take this. In the face of rapid technological advancement, what are some key future-proofing strategies that Nigerian boards consider to ensure their continuous relevance and effectiveness? Future-proofing strategies, innovative, right? Stay hungry, stay open. You need to now start looking at look at how industries move. You cannot just think in silos in your industry alone. Like I was in a meeting yesterday, and somebody was working on something that is multidisciplinary and in approach. So I think that's the only way you can stay above. I don't know if Emeka, Steven wants to chip in. Just 30 seconds each so that we can treat some of these questions.
Let me go first, Emeka. So I would say you shouldn't wait for an external party to disrupt you or to disrupt your industry. You should actually be self-destructive. Looking at emerging technology within your sector, you might actually be adjacent industry that are not relevant to you. We have phones today because of a graphical user interface from Xerox. Right. So all those kind of disruption things you can bring from maybe ancillary industry. So just self-destruct. Don't wait for things to happen to you. Go into the room such that you also embrace that technology. That'll be my contribution.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Emeka, you have the floor.
Yeah, I just have something to say, and the perspective I want to come from, given this audience, is more or less a passionate appeal. If there's one thing I want us to take away from this conversation, I want us to, we've talked about adapting AI, all that good stuff. As members of boards, I think we owe it to ourselves as Nigerians and Africans to invest in our indigenous local talents, AI talent. Yes, there's ChatGPT, there's Gemini, there are all these tools, but like Stephen, I love the example Stephen gave, where the solution to their problem had to be homegrown, I guess they built it within themselves, but also you have talented companies, startups like our moderator here, who are local, right, and doing these things. And I can tell you they'll do it as well, if not better, than any quote unquote foreign Oyibo company can do it. And I'm saying this like I live in Silicon Valley where everything is happening. And I can say it with full confidence that the talent we have back home can do this for a number of reasons. Yeah, so as I'll get off the soapbox, but I'll say as people on board, we should take a chance on our own to build out this stuff, because the future we're going into now cannot be, we've lost out in previous races before, technology races, because we didn't develop our own capacity. We can't afford to let that happen this time. So that is my future-proof strategy, to this audience.
Thank you. Derry, I will need you to speak on that. So just 30 seconds, please. You have the floor now.
Okay, so I'm just giving a summary of my views of this. I would just say embrace it, navigate it, work with it. Look at it as mainstream, and that way you will be on top of it. Thank you.
All right, man. Ladies and gentlemen, directors, I think this has been very engaging. I would like to know your feedback in the session, in the comment section, sorry. And this is my first time ever moderating a panel session. I hope I did not let you people down. So,
You did
and
well.
I want some words of encouragement, because I was nervous at the beginning, especially considering the caliber of the speakers that we have. And Emeka, I would want to piggyback on what you said. Like I was discussing with Darren this morning, the beauty about AI is it's happening, right? When you look at electricity, when you look at the internet, Africa was like the last to embrace a lot of these technologies. So we are the receiving end, right? And a lot of limitations, right? The Western world capital was flowing here, so they could dictate a lot of things. And AI now, a new model is being released. Even from here, people release models. And the opportunity it brings is, number one, we can use AI to solve some of the local problems that we face. That's, an open AI we will not even be interested in, right? And we don't need to replicate what they are doing. Just leverage on the existing infrastructure, And like I was telling Darren earlier today, look, Africa, number one, position for everything. We have a huge population. The world there's still a lot of sectors that are ripe for digital disruption, and youthful population, land mass is there. Think about every sector is virgin right now: agriculture, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, exporting, so many things, right? So the future is bright for us, as Africans, as Nigerians. But thank you, Mr. Ayo. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Director General, the leadership of Institute of Directors, for this privilege and the honor. I'll go ahead and update my LinkedIn profile to say panel moderator, Institute of Directors. I'm just joking. Thank you very much. I hope it was worth it for us. Thank you, Emeka, staying up very early in the morning to come on board. It just shows how passionate you are. Thank you for keeping the flag of Nigeria proud, in Silicon Valley. Thank you, Amodu, for the insightful insight you've given us. Thank you, Derry Adefulu, for amazing profile, and you did justice to all the questions and all the questions that were asked both by the attendees and by my honorable self, the panelists. So, and I also want to thank myself, because I can be very, very shy. So this is it's a big move for me, right? I was super, super nervous, hoping that I'll not disappoint my village people, but I hope they're proud of me. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Yeah.
You did fantastic.
Finally, I can turn off my video because I'm very, very shy.
Don't leave yet. We'll take a few remarks. I'd like to introduce Dr. Adeyinka Hassan, who is the chairman of the Young Directors Advisory Committee. He is a mentor. He's somebody who is providing direction and leadership, who right from the conception of the idea of putting together the Young Directors Forum of the Chartered Institute of Directors. He has been there providing insights. So we'd like to take a few remarks from him, and then I will now invite.
Thank you very much, Eyo, for bringing me on. I like to appreciate the speakers and the moderator. You did very well. I can very well assure you of that. You didn't sound like you were doing the job for the first time. So be rest assured, for every good job done, more work will be forwarded to you. So we'll be looking for you. And for the speakers, you did justice to your sessions. It was quite enlightening and reassuring. Quite a number of people had been worried that certain programs, certain courses people study these days, that AI are taking away their jobs. I'm one of them because I'm a lawyer. There's hardly anything you could do on your own as a lawyer that AI cannot do these days. But quite frankly, from what Dere said, he gave me an assurance that it is not just about AI doing your job. It is one thing for you to be able to use AI. I used to be AI illiterate until my son taught me how. And the interesting thing is that he had been telling me that you need AI to be smarter with your work, and I didn't listen to him until one day. As a matter of fact, I just prepared the document. I told AI to prepare it for me. If AI is not taking away anybody's job. AI is a tool that you need to do your job smarter. I mean, if AI does anything for me, I still need to work it around to be able to get the specific thing I really want. So if anybody sends me a document, I review, I can tell that this is AI's work. So for you to do a smart job, you need to be able to tweak it, and you need to be able to have knowledge of that job to be able to get something you really want from AI. So from what the speaker said this morning, it gave an assurance, and I want to commend the Young Directors Forum for putting this together. I saw the attendance was not bad at all compared to what we had done in the past. And I want to commend Eyo and his team that you are doing a great job. And for every good work done, we always demand for more. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And we will definitely look for the moderator again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hassan. Permit me to also acknowledge and thank the first Vice President of the Chartered Institute of Directors, Mr. Adetunji Oyebanji. I can see him in the audience. Our DG and CEO of the Chartered Institute of Directors Nigeria was also here, but he had to leave. I acknowledge him and also thank him. We'll move straight to the vote of thanks, where we'll ask the first Vice Chair for the Young Directors Forum, Ms. Mobola Adekola, to do the vote of thanks and also speak to us briefly about the Young Directors Forum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Eyo. Thank you to everyone. So on behalf of the Young Directors Forum executives, I would like to sincerely appreciate the President and Chairman of the Governing Council of CIoD, that's Alhaji Tijjani Borodo, LLM FCIoD, as well as members of the Governing Council for their unwavering support and guidance to the YDF, and also, of course, making this webinar a success. We are also deeply grateful to Dr. Adeyinka Hassan for his support and guidance, and we want to appreciate the DG, Dr. Alime, for also his encouragement and his commitment to the growth of the Young Directors Forum. So, and to Kehinde, thank you very much. That's our moderator. You did really well. Thank you for stirring the conversation and helping us to gain insights on the evolving nature of work. And to our panelists, thank you, Emeka, for leading us, sharing us the journey, the evolving journey of technology in terms of computer and what it has become today, and also helping us to showing it to us that we just need to embrace technology no matter what it is. And to Derry, thank you so much. Should I say that's my junior colleague, and thank you for also letting us know that we need to be proactive. It is one thing. AI is not going to take our work, but the person that is using it, it's going to will take it away from us if we do not embrace it. And so it is one, they have also emphasized that we must keep abreast of trends within the sector. You can't have oversight of what you do not have knowledge on, and you need to upskill. Thank you very much. And to Philip, that's our last speaker. Thank you for sharing that journey about how you people are to develop internal models with technology to trying to advise the board, get the board to approve your own, should I say, your own initiative as opposed to continue with the use of the Big Four. And thank you for sharing what the conclusion from that, what now you're able to save cost. And to everyone that has joined us today, I think it is one thing that we all have to take away from here. But I would just say to all the members of the Young Directors Forum, to all the participants, everyone who joined us today, thank you for your engagement. Thank you for staying with us. It was a worthwhile time well spent. And one key thing we must take away from here is like what Darren said. I'll emphasize that again. You cannot, if you don't have, you can't have oversight on what you do not have knowledge on. So we need to keep abreast. Go and do your research. You need to learn. Even Dr. Adeyinka Azana should also sharing the fact that if you bring a work that was done by AI, you will know. So we also need to be conscious of intellectual property and theft in the use of AI. So be very IP conscious and ensure that even when you're using it, you're not using somebody's intellectual property, but for you to discern that, you determine that this is something you need to be comfortable, you need to be aware of, you need to get yourself. So study it, do your research. Just like Emeka said, just go online and just AI for how will you teach kids? So those are the easy ways that you will get yourself familiar with the subject matter. So I just want to say thank you all again for joining us, and for everyone that is interested in joining the Young Directors Forum. I believe Mr. Ayo, that's the chair. He has shared the link to the website. Yes, for inquiries, please send an email to YDF@CIoD Nigeria, or just simply visit www.ciodnigeria.org Young Directors Forum. And finally, I would also like to appreciate the planning committee and every member of the executives. Thank you all for the work done so far. And I wish everyone a very good day. Thank you. But before we go, we still have the virtual networking session for participants and members of the YDF. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. We will leave the room open for about 15 minutes for us to network, exchange our contacts, and then that will be all for today. Thank you.